Oh, that's the corgi side eye. I don't know if you
Oh
know
no.
this about
Look at
them.
that right there. That is not a side eye. That is full on judging. Hey Ned.
Yeah. No, he does that all the time. He's like, "Oh, you're not touching me? You gave me a bath today? You sorry bastard." But yeah, I get that judgment all the time, especially when I'm walking out of the house to go to work or anywhere. It doesn't matter. And he's just like, "We're leaving? Fucking piece of shit."
Yeah.
Yep. But yep, the corgi side eye, the corgi judgment stare. It's real.
It's all the same.
Yeah. Yep. It's quite famous. It's got its own pages on the Facebook. We see a new background there. It's very rustic.
Yeah, cozy cabin. I like it.
Yeah. Hopefully in the recording your resolution is better because you're quite grainy.
Am I?
Yeah. But
it might be my internet connection. I had to move back to the fire department for this.
Right on. You ain't got your Starlink yet?
No. Do you know much about Starlink?
Babe.
So me and the wife had an actual conversation about it, and I was looking at like the Starlink Mini. It's about yay big.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I like it because you can like throw it in a Pelican case. So if like we wanted to go camping or something, I could take it with me. But I don't know if it's got the same like output like the bigger one does, as far as like service and stuff like that. And I can't justify having two.
Yeah, I don't know why you would want to take the internet with you camping.
Well, it's not really the camping thing. It's more of like shitstone got south, you know?
Yeah.
But we're just going to call it camping for the others.
I don't really think that the full size one is that big. I thought most people did keep it in a Pelican case.
You have to get a big Pelican case. It's like yay big.
I don't know. The ones that I've always seen were, slightly bigger than a laptop.
Yeah, they're pretty big.
Yeah, it's like there's a antenna that you put up high, and I've only ever seen the thing that you put up somewhere. I haven't really seen the router or the switch or anything like that. So, because I have not looked into them at all, really.
So Wrangler Star had a really good video on some of the lessons learned from Helene.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one of the things he like made a complete case for his, like not necessarily like, the world's ending and the Chinese are marching down the street. It's like, hey, you have an actual natural disaster. If you need to set up shop, you can, so you can have communications with everybody,
Yeah. But I think Apple is doing something with that as well. Like their satellite chip in their new phones is supposed to be comparable. But I have not looked into it because it's just not high on my. Stop shaking the house. You're fine. No, go sit down somewhere. Yeah, it's just not high on my my list of things to spend money on.
I'm with you.
So let's jump in. I got to go to bed early.
Let's do it.
Welcome back, everyone. We have been on a hiatus. It has been weeks since we have been together in this communion.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah, life happens. Sometimes we both get a little busy. I got a little sick. Then we were going to get together and I had power issues.
Yeah, what was up with that? Did you ever get it resolved? I'm assuming you did.
Yeah, about 9:30 that night, so about 10:30 your time. Uh, it was I don't know, just these storms that are moving across the country right now, and I don't know. I think sometimes they just turn it off. Like
Absolutely.
I went to the store the next day and I did not see any like wind damage, any tree damage, nothing. And so like there wasn't even really a lot of limbs down on the property. So I was just like, the hell.
So I'm assuming you survived the earthquake.
Yes, I did. It's not the first one I've been in.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
never been in like a crazy one.
No, like I describe it to people as like the washing machine is unbalanced. That's what it
Mm.
really reminded me of. And I'm going to be honest with you, where I was, the dogs acted a little weird, so maybe they were into it. Nothing. I have some friends of mine, especially up higher in higher elevations. They were like, "That was weird."
Yeah, I was sitting in a. So I just got back from vacation at Helen, Georgia, and we were in the cabin, and like things started shaking a little bit. And my wife, who's completely naive about everything, was like, "Hey, what's going on?" I said, "Get outside. Like, we don't need to be in this cabin that's on the side of a hill. You know, we don't need to be in here if this is real."
Yeah, yeah. It's like I said, the one that I remember. Gosh, it was probably in the 90s. Uh, but it woke me up, and I very much remember thinking, why in the hell is the washing machine going? Like, what have I done? Because I've been known to do some weird things at night, and it wouldn't surprise me if I woke up terrified that I needed to do laundry and started a ghost load.
So in the '90s, what part of the country were you in when that one took place?
South. I was in the South.
Okay, copy that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, not a place where earthquakes happen. And I went to the gym, and somebody else was talking about it. He was like, "Man, something weird was happening in my neighborhood. Like, I don't know if something blew up or if a water main busted." And I was like, "We don't live in the same neighborhood," and I felt it too. And it finally came on the news that there was a earthquake that happened, and I was like, "Well, how about that?
Yeah,
Appalachia never ceases to amaze."
Lord no.
Yeah. Well, we have some interesting topics to talk about tonight.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, East Coast earthquakes, um, Buffalo school system.
Oh man, that shit's a mess, ain't it?
Yeah, and whenever I'm far too cynical, and I look at things and I'm like, no, there's got to be something more. And that's how I'm looking at this. Because first of all, um, you know, you and I have both been doing this emergency stuff for a while, and from time to time we deal with kids, and when kids tell us something, there are things that we have to report. It doesn't matter what we feel about it, whether we feel it's true or not, we have to report it. And it's not for us to do an investigation. It's not for us to figure it out. It is for us to say, this child has told me this, and I must report this to an authority.
Yes.
And, I've personally been in that situation a couple of times. I've also been in the situation where, a lover's quarrel gets a little weird. And, it's like, well, I'm getting this report, regardless if I believe it, I don't believe it. If I have evidence of it or if I don't have evidence of it, it's not for me to investigate. It's for me to evaluate my patient and report what I've been told. So,
Yes.
um, sorry, I am getting over some weird bugs here in the past 2 weeks. First, I had a stomach bug, and now I've got some kind of lung bug. But to recap for anybody who doesn't know, a podcast that me and Blake both watch regularly. I don't know how frequently, but regularly. There's a character on there named Angry Cops, who is in fact a detective in Buffalo, New York. And he found out that there had been multiple reports of violence, sexual violence, and none of the people at the school ever reported it. It never went anywhere. They just squashed it in the school. Now, paramedics, healthcare workers, daycare workers, teachers, police officers, all of us are mandatory reporters. If we're told something, we have to report it. And so I think Buffalo Public Schools is lacking because they never reported it. And I don't know if they did their own investigations or not, but a lot of stuff has come out since then.
Yeah, and like I haven't watched the newest episode that they put out, and it's the Unsubscribe podcast. I haven't watched the newest thing, and if you're just solely listening to the podcast, go to the YouTube channel. That's where you will find it at. I haven't seen it on their actual podcast where they talk about it because they were trying to separate it a little bit. You know, the Unsubscribe podcast does their own thing, but the Unsubscribe people also was like, hey, this happened. We're going to talk about it. But it was separate on their YouTube. That's just what I've seen in the cast stuff, the podcast realm that I listen to. So Richard High, that's Angry Cop's real name, and he doesn't care, but he's a detective, as Davros said. So some of the things that he was talking about, one of which was probably, they're both really bad, but the most heinous thing is there's a school in Buffalo, New York that is attached to a museum. Am I right about that? It's a museum?
Yes. Yes, it's Museum Science Center. And you are frozen. Blake could come back.
We're back.
Yeah, I think you're back now.
Hey, cool. So there's a science center that was attached to this school. An individual walks from the science center into the school and goes to grab up a child. Okay. He didn't disclose what happened. I'm getting there. It wasn't disclosed what happened to the child, but it was initially just said it was one child. So there was another boy that when his mom came to pick him up, they looked and the kid had pissed himself. And she's like, hey, why did little Timmy piss himself? She asked the teacher. Well, when they looked through the security cams, it turns out that little Timmy was also almost abducted. And they're like, yeah, your child may have almost got abducted today. But they weren't going to tell that parent anything. They were going to keep it completely silent that there's two children that almost got abducted, you know? So that's a problem. And where it gets even weirder with this whole story is the school district asked for the footage to be deleted. They didn't want any part of it to show, and they were trying to delete the footage. You know, that's a problem. A
Now,
huge problem.
is that confirmed with evidence that they requested the video to be deleted, or is that accusation?
I want to I want to say that's confirmed because the only way that they found the footage was because somebody else recorded the footage before it was deleted. So I'm pretty sure that's factual, according to the Angry Cop story that he initially posted.
Yes. So let's add some context to everything. And uh, I'm I'm on the side of what's right, whatever that may be. I don't know what that is though. So um, he is called Angry Cops for a reason because there are numerous videos of him being very angry with people, and most of them are pretty entertaining. And it's not like he goes around using epithets or anything like that, but he's been accused multiple times of excessive force. And recently, um, the Attorney General of New York uh, sent a letter to his department, I guess, um, with concerns that they have collected since like 2014. So he's been a cop for a very long time, like since 2002. And he is a detective at this point, and he is um, has always been kind of a gruff guy. He's also a reserve drill instructor, drill sergeant. I think drill sergeant. He's on me, yeah. So he's a drill sergeant, and so he's a very forceful individual. Now, I saw something and I tried to retrace it. Pardon me. To be able to quote it because I'll state my sources when I can. But somebody was saying that he was just trying to throw uh, attention off of himself because of this investigation that was going on about him. Now, I could see someone doing that, but I could also see someone taking the mindset that if I'm getting investigated for this and I am possibly going to lose my job, then I have absolutely nothing to lose than to bring this subject out into the open. And since it has come out into the open, it has been a big stink. It has made national news headlines. So it was on the cover page of MSN web browser that comes up on the computer at work. And so it's really interesting to see. I have never worked in an organization, municipal or private, where you could go back 10 years and hold someone on some punitive action for something that they did back then. I can absolutely tell you in the private sector, you've got about 2 weeks. In the municipal sector, it's really about the same. Some municipalities will actually define a time where you can be written up for something that you did. So if they say that it's 30 days and you make it past 30 days, and well, you got away with it. But it's interesting that this letter from the Attorney General that's looking at conduct, not illegal activity, just conduct. Like, why would an Attorney General be investigating conduct of a police officer? Like, it's suspicious.
Well, I go back to some other stuff and as well as I do, if a cop does something, get complained on, whatever, the first thing that happens is they go through an IA process, internal affairs, and they look at every use of force. They look at every time you use strong language, anything like that, and they look at it to see if there's any wrongdoings. He has cleared IA every single time. And you're talking about a place like New York. If they were going to crucify him, they would have done it a long time ago, and he wouldn't have made it this far to be a lieutenant in the SVU. So that's my stance on it, is like for example, there's a video circulating of him that they show up, they go arrest a guy. This guy was wanted for armed robbery. What is armed? He had a gun. Okay. So they go to lock him up, and a bunch of his boys is like, hey, free so and so. And they go to remove the criminal from the back seat of the patrol car. So Detective High, or police officer High at that point, he gets out and he forcefully chest bumps the guy with his arms out like this. And when he hit him, that got him subject of IA immediately because of the use of force, and it ended up on YouTube. Okay. They cleared him on it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that, and again, this is my speculation only, but I think that that is a product of, like, we're making national news. Now we got to try to throw some dirt on him to limit his credibility. Does that make sense?
So apparently the Attorney General stuff started first.
Okay.
So it was September of 24 that this letter from the Attorney General came down. Now, this is the
we're back.
Yeah, just interesting. So, same Attorney General that doesn't really seem like she knows what the hell she's doing. And, I'm going to tell you, statute of limitations. I mean, there's certain things that I know that, there are no statute of limitations. But in the letter, and I was watching Straight to the Point or something similar to that. I apologize. I have taken medicine for that, but why I've been drinking so much fluid. I watched a podcast and I found the actual letter from the Attorney General, and pretty much there were 4 different incidents that the Attorney General referenced. And I think all of them have been covered by Donut Operator. And all that happened in September, but it just is odd to me, that you could look back that far and try and, capture some sort of punitive action for something that happened years upon years ago. I am not today who I was 5 years ago, much less who I was 20 years ago. And so, growth, everybody grows, but it's just really weird and suspicious. And so I don't know if Angry Cops has it in his mind that he's about to get fired from his position, which I don't think would really matter. I think he's got a strong enough social media presence that he probably doesn't need his job at the police department. But, if he's gonna face, some sort of disciplinary action, why not go ahead and expose this illegal activity that's happening at a school? And now, when we say school, we're not talking about a high school. We're talking about an elementary school. The 2 children that had the attempted kidnapping were both in like year 1, year 2, like little kids. Yeah. Some of the other stuff, and it's the school system wide, but there's reports now that the police have been involved in 17,000 incidents at Buffalo public schools since 2021. That's a long period.
Since 2021. That is a lot of incidents in a school. God.
And, I have worked in a metropolitan municipal system, and I know that a lot of those reports are probably not, police action. That's them calling the police to make a point.
Yeah, for sure.
But that's still a lot. And it's also come out that there is no SRO program in Buffalo Public Schools. There's no formal agreement for officers in the schools. So it's very, very interesting.
Yeah. It's just terrible to think that a school district would go to the lengths to cover up stuff. And, just these abductions or attempted abductions is like the tip of the iceberg. They're covering up assaults where kids are coming in and saying, hey, my legal guardian is beating me. Nothing gets said. Comes in again with video evidence on the phone saying, hey, my parents are beating me or my guardian is beating me. I don't know if the individual is parent or not. Doesn't say anything. It only reports it when this individual comes in black and blue. Like we could have stopped that a long time ago, and like if you have a kid come in and they make the accusation, it's very easy for somebody to say, well, they're known to fudge the truth a little bit, or they're known to lie a little bit. It's easy to say that. Still, we have to report it. We're still mandatory supposed to report that. At least that gives a call to DSS, But the video evidence, you can't justify not saying something about that. Excuse me.
Yeah, and it's not just accusations of guardianship abuse or anything like that. There's been accusations of actual sexual assaults that have happened on the school property. And, it's a very bizarre situation. And, for me, anytime I have been in a situation where I'm caring for somebody who has been a victim of violence, regardless of what that means, I am very specific about the notes that I take, the chart that I write. I even list the position I was in during care, because all of that becomes important. And there have been very, very few times that I've ever been talked to by the police or any type of social services about my interaction. And I have actually spoken to social services more for elder abuse than for anything else. But
yeah,
it is one of those things that at no point in time have I ever taken a blind eye to it. It's, it's like, hey, this is the accusation that was made. This is who I reported it to, so let them go back and look. It's like, that's the kind of stuff that doesn't sit on my desk for a day or two. That's like, hey, we're out of service for decon because I'm going to finish this up and send it in right away.
Mm-hmm. And like there comes like when I'm working in the ambulance or whatever situation I'm in, I'm very careful on what I'll actually entertain. All right, so when I say that, like I'll have people that will admit to crimes and all this other stuff. I'm like, stop. I don't want to hear it, Like let's stop now,
It's like, I need the history of the current complaint. That's
exactly. Like I had a call the other day. I won't go into the details because this one's going to be a court case. I guarantee it. But when I arrived on the scene, there was an individual that was trying to tell me what happened with the injury and all this other stuff, how this person got this injury. Come to find out, he was the one who gave the injury to that person. So as soon as I put two and two together, I walked away from that. I don't want to hear it anymore. You know, like this is putting me in the hot seat, and I don't want to be in it. I am here for one thing. I'm here for the current injury or illness, and I'm here to treat that and take that person to a higher level of care. I don't give a shit how they got it. I don't care one bit. Doesn't change my treatments at all.
You know, I think you and I have discussed this before, but I was still a new paramedic many years ago, and ended up transporting somebody with a gunshot wound, and family member wanted to ride with, and you know, I was holding the steering wheel, partners in the back. I don't really talk to people if they're riding in the front with me. I don't really want to. I don't want them there. And this incident really solidified that for me. But we got to the hospital. The person riding up front with me was the person who shot the guy in the back of the truck. He was shot in the stomach, but he was the shooter, and he still had the gun.
What?
And yeah, so it came from a family affair with alcohol involved, and it was accidental. But you know, that just it like that was one of those nights where I was like, I'm never doing that again. And I don't know how I'm never doing that again, but I'm never doing that again. And so, I mean, I dug through my municipality's books, and I found every way to disqualify somebody from riding up front, and used it frequently.
Yeah, my disqualifiers, that's against my policy, and because of COVID, we can't have anybody up front anymore.
One of the best things that happened during that debacle. But me and my partner at the time, we came up with an algorithm. If it was a critical call, nobody's riding. If it's from a violent call, nobody's riding. If it's from a drug or alcohol related call, nobody's riding. You know, and it was like, and that served us so well. Because it's like, no, you know, we're not going to do it. It's for our safety. And if at any point in time, you know, that's not acceptable, then a safety officer could come out and get you, and he can ride you up to the hospital, but I'm not.
Sure.
If it's going to jeopardize my safety, you know, I remember I don't think I was a paramedic yet. I think I was still an EMT, and I was driving an ambulance, and there was a person in the back having an emergency, and there was a rider up front, and she said, I'm so nervous, I need to take one of my pills. But homegirl pops open her purse, pulls out a pill, grabs my partner's drink, drinks it to take her pill. I was just like, I am absolutely amazed. And then after she took her pill, proceeded to piss in the seat. You know, we're having to do a truck swap in the middle of the night because somebody's pissed in the seat after she stole the drink. I was just like, man, this is nuts. You know, but it's like, that's going to bring us into the next topic. You know, we always have to be taking care of ourselves. We always have to be taking our safety personally, because once again, there has been an incident where someone in the back of an ambulance was killed.
Mm-hmm.
And a very young man, I think he was 23 years old. He was a firefighter paramedic, and I'm going to say Kansas City, Missouri. So Kansas City is one of those places that covers two different states, and he was in Kansas City, Missouri, I think. Yes. So there's Kansas City. There's Kansas City, Kansas, and Kansas City, Missouri.
But do
And
they cross state lines? Like right
yes,
there together?
yeah,
Really?
across on the river.
Did not know that.
Yeah, I'm 90% sure. Let me just shrink the map down here. And
I'll take your word for it because I did not know that.
yeah, it's one of those interesting places. I can't find Kentucky. Where is it? St. Louis, Missouri. That's one of them. Yes. So, um, the state line runs directly through the center of Kansas City, and so you have Kansas City, Kansas, and you have a Kansas City, Missouri.
Did not know that. That's interesting.
Yeah, there's a couple of other places like that. Like there's not there. I think it's like in Iowa. I think there's a city that's on the line, and so there's one in both states. But yeah, so this young man was with what appears from my experience to be a psych patient, and something happened, and she stabbed him, and he died because of that.
And keep in mind, she's an elderly person. This wasn't no like, 20-something-year-old female that went ballistic. It was like an 80-year-old woman.
I don't think she was that old.
She was old.
I don't think so.
She was elderly, though.
But at any rate, um, you know, definitely not blaming the paramedic for the incident by any means.
No.
But I used to take a lot of flack because I had absolutely no qualms with frisking somebody myself.
Exactly. I do the same thing and have been for years.
I did it in front of the cops one day where you and I used to work together. And because they were like, we know him, he's a good guy, blah, blah, blah. And when I took his shoe off and dumped the knife out of it that he had underneath the sole, I was like, he's a good guy with a knife. That's what he is. And they were like, you might need to come over to the police department. And I was like, nope, not at all. I don't mess with the police. But there have been multiple times where I put somebody on the side of the truck and I'm like, this is the way you get in, is I get to make sure that there's nothing on you. I've been stabbed in the back of the truck. I have a friend who's been shot. There's just all these stories. Yeah. Yeah.
Really?
A long time ago. Yeah. In my side, little piece of the knife hit my rib, broke. And what is it called when you get a foreign body and it festers?
Oh my God. Yes. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. One of the most painful things that I've ever been involved with. It's basically a staph infection. And it got to be swelled up about the size of my fist. So pretty sizable bump on the side of my body. It was so painful that it was pulling the skin tight across my chest. So if I breathed, it was hurting. And I went to the doctor and I was like, I need help. And he was like, it needs to be drained, but it's not ready to be drained. And I was like, I'm ready. Drain it. And I'm certain that I was not being as nice as I can be because I was in so much pain. But he did not even deaden it up. He was kind of annoyed with me because he literally said, there's no way I'm going to do it right now because it's just going to get worse. And I looked him dead in his face and said, y'all do stitches here, right? And he's like, and I pulled out my pocket knife. I was like, I'm about to cut this. It's like, I can't deal with it anymore. It is too bad.
So you're the patient with the knife now.
Well, yeah. But I was just cutting myself, I wanted somebody else to see on the outside what I was feeling on the inside. But yeah, so he was like, all right, he's like, I'll cut it, but you'll probably have to have it done again. And I was like, if it gives me pain relief now, then I'm fine with that. And so he like put on some gloves, he pulled out a scalpel and cut it. And that is a really weird feeling, but it was followed by so much relief that I was like, it's like I could take a nap right now.
I got to change my shorts.
Yeah, it was so much stuff. And they did an x-ray for some reason. I can't remember why. And they were like, what's that? And I was like, I don't have an x-ray on my truck. I can see my ribs. And they're like, there's a little piece of metal inside.
Oh shit.
Yeah. And he was actually able to go in with a pair of forceps and grab it and pull it out. And yeah, that felt really fantastic. And then I lived with a ribbon sticking out of my body for like a week. And it was gross all the time. Yeah.
So, like, I've transported some crazy freaking people. And even before, like, well before this incident happened, because it only happened a few weeks ago, but I've been having patients searched and I've been searching myself. And sometimes the cops will get in that weird legality stuff. Well, it's violating the Fourth Amendment right. There is no right. I can't remember it is, but it's just a safety search. You're not looking for drugs. You were just looking for anything that's going to hurt you.
Mm-hmm. So I've heard that argument before that, that it's a violation of the Fourth Amendment. It's like, no, I'm not looking for anything to charge them with. I'm not accusing them of a crime. I'm not collecting evidence, even though I am qualified to do so, to collect evidence. Which I know there's been a lot of legal people, like especially new cops. They're like, well, you can't touch any evidence. It's like, yeah, I can touch anything I want to. So it's like, I am part of a chain. It's like, if there's a person body that I need to touch, I can touch it. And I do try to to not. And I usually get somebody with a body cam to make sure they are filming me when I touch. But yeah, as soon as you consent to, as soon as you ask for medical care, I now have your permission to put my hands on you. And, and that definitely does not mean, I can tune in Tokyo or anything, but anything I need to do, I have your consent as soon as you ask for my help. I'm going to touch you. That's how it works. There's no way to do any of it. There's not a Bluetooth blood pressure sensor.
Yeah, wish there was, because that would make my life so much easier.
Yeah. Now, I will say that there have been plenty of times where I have reported to the hospital that all vital signs were taken by Bluetooth. And they're like, what? And I was like, I wasn't touching them.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't going to put a hand on them. Not doing a thing. And that's you. And then, that's usually when people are like really rowdy and they're disrespectful to me. I'm like, okay, if you're good enough to cuss me, you're good enough to live. So off we go. When you stop cussing, then I'll pay attention to you.
Yeah, if they're cussing you, their airway's intact.
Yeah.
And there is some type of circulation there.
Yes.
There was one night I was transporting somebody and they were getting rowdy with me and cussing and doing all their things. And I said, unable to obtain vitals, I'll see you in 5. But patients AN04, GCS 15. And they come back and said, why can't you get vitals? So I just clicked the radio and just put it right there next to the patient asking me, do you have questions? They're like, nope, you in triage.
Yeah. There have been a numerous amount of charts that I've written that patient would not cooperate with evaluation. And so, not my problem. You know, when I was younger, I used to fight people a lot more, but now I'm just not into it. I'm like, I don't fucking care. Let's see what happens.
So,
as long as I
you know as well as I do, there's certain people, like especially law enforcement, and I love my cops, I do, but there is certain times where their threshold for not doing anything is really high, you know, and they're doing as little as possible to get out of something. So within the past week, while I was working my part-time job on the ground, I went out because this guy had made statements to law enforcement that he was going to kill himself. He did not have a plan yet, but he was going to. That is mandatory. You don't have a choice. You have to go to the hospital. You no longer have a choice in that matter at all. You have to be evaluated by a physician.
You have to go to custody. You do not have to go to the hospital.
Well, I came in and I was like, oh, well, he doesn't have a choice anymore. And they're like, oh, we can't do papers on him. I'm like, have you lost your fucking mind? You know? And I'm like, I've got a whole lot of milligrams in that truck of, you don't have a choice, you know? And I have got some pretty nice protocols that says I can use the milligrams of whatever I want to.
Yeah. I've had calls like that, where, you know, there was a definite proclamation. And that's one of those weird things that happens in our world. It's like, okay, if you make a definite proclamation of suicidal ideation or homicidal ideation, then I have to take you for definitive evaluation. I'm not making any judgments on it. There's no judgments for me to make. I have protocols approved by the state, written by a doctor, and I don't work for nurses. I work for doctors that
Bingo, say it for the people in the back.
That say you must now come to an emergency room for expert evaluation and determination. Nothing I can do about it. Now, in that, there is a caveat that the patient has to be in custody. That does not mean arrested. It just means that they have to be in a custody until that evaluation is made. Now, there are a lot of jail facilities that can make that evaluation, and that is an appropriate place for them to go. So if they don't want to go with me and they want to stay in police custody, I am fulfilling my duties. But if I come out and there's a definite proclamation, then there's nothing to talk about. You know, we don't have to be ugly, but we got to go. And I got some flack from that first place I worked for, because I had an incident one time where the police were like, nah, it's not real. I was like, do we have a proclamation? And they're like, yeah, but he was just mad and upset with his wife. I was like, well, he has to go. You know, he doesn't mean that he'll stay in the hospital for 72 hours, but he has to go. And they're like, nah, we're not going to make him. I was like, Officer Joe Bob and Officer Carrie Baby said that they were going to maintain custody of the patient. No evaluation performed. Done. And they called me in the office on it, and they're like, what do you mean no evaluation done? I was like, I never talked to him. They said they weren't going to make him go, and there was nothing for me to do. I mean, you know, but I've also been on those calls where like husband and wife get in an arguing match, and wife knows that if he's suicidal, he's got to go to the hospital, and she'll be like, he said he's going to kill himself. And I'm like, if you can't prove it, I'm not listening to it.
Exactly. Well, he said it. He didn't say it to me.
It's like, I have to have a positive declaration. So if he texted it to you, and you can show me the text, if he has a note if, if he says, yes, I was feeling that way, I have a positive declaration. But if I don't, I'm not kidnapping anybody just to help you win a fight with somebody.
Yeah.
Because that's definitely what that is. That's a very interesting way. And, in certain states, the rules are different. And the state where you and I worked, they were a little less stringent. But in one of the states that I worked north of us, there was a 2-person declaration that had to be made, and you were going to a hospital for 72 hours. And there's no getting around it. It's mandatory. And there were some messed up situations with that, because like we had a guy that came in one time and he was just smiling. He was like, yep. And so his wife had gone and gotten somebody else, and they made the declaration that he was having these thoughts about hurting himself. And so the police brought him into the hospital and we had to evaluate him. And, I just talk to people and I'm like, what's going on? He goes, man, I just won my divorce. I'm like, what do you mean? And he's like, yeah. So she just got somebody else to lie and say this about me. So now I've been detained for 72 hours and there's absolutely no evidence of it. So when I go to court with this, I'm just going to rack up. And I'm like, I hope you do, my man. Thank you for being cool with me. You want an extra snack?
Yeah.
It's like, I got to pour your soda in a cup, but I mean, you can have an extra one on me. I don't care.
Little styrofoam cup.
Yes. You know how I learned that rule? There was a kid that had some mental issues, and they could not get him into a psych unit. So he was held in the emergency department for like 4 or 5 days. Oh. Well, he was a dick to some people, but I guess he kind of realized that it's like, look, man, I won't be a dick to you unless you're a dick to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so like when I would come on, I'd be like, hey man, you got to clean this room up. You got to pick up all this trash, put it in the trash can. We'll take it out. I was like, but you got to pick up your trash. You got to get these crumbs off your bed. I was like, you can't live like this. It's nasty. And I was like, I'll bring you a soda if you get cleaned up. And he's like, okay. So I brought him, he wanted ginger ale, which I'm like, that's not a soda. That's an ingredient. You put that into stuff. You don't drink it by itself. That's like drinking cooking brandy. It's like, stop it. But I brought him 2 of those little airplane cans, and he was like, I can't have those. You got to pour it in a cup. And I was like, oh yeah, I guess that makes sense, because you could tear the can up and escape or something.
Yeah, accidentally murder yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. What's good in the world?
I don't know. I was about to ask you the same thing.
Yeah. Definitely not the whole direwolf thing.
Do what?
So a couple weeks ago, they released some information that some scientists had genetically altered DNA in wolves to recreate dire wolves.
Man, listen. That's how you get some shit fucked up, is by trying to recreate some DNA. COVID.
COVID's back? Oh yeah. Well, no, that's how we got it.
Yeah.
It's like HIV. I mean, that's a mixture of DNA.
Very true.
Let's see, some good news. Got to find some good news. The Free Little Library has surpassed 2.5 million locations.
The Free Little Library.
Have you never seen these?
Are you talking about like the ones that are at fire departments?
Yeah, the little boxes. They look like little birdhouses, and you can put a book in or take a book out.
I've literally got one sitting right outside my window here.
Yeah, that is a worldwide movement, and they have surpassed 2.5 million free little libraries.
I've seen people do the same thing, but like with food, where they'll just put like cans of food in there. And so there's a church in my area. They do something I really like. They have a free garden. So the church has got like an after school program for kids. So they'll have the kids out there and they're educating them on like how to grow stuff, how to do all the fun things, how to be a little bit self-sufficient, like this is how you grow a tomato. This is how you weed a garden. This is how you do whatever. But after they get done, they put the food out there and it's like, if you want it, come get it.
There was a fire department that did that um, in our area. They had a little pantry out there. It was a little Rubbermaid container thing, and you could put food in or take food out. There was nobody watching, and I put food in there one time, and I did not think about it, but somebody had brought me like multiple little, I guess, single serve bottles of wine. So somebody scored big and got drunk at the at the free little food pantry. I didn't think about it, but they were like, "Yeah, don't put alcohol in there," and I was like, "Oh, I guess that would be kind of bad."
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was overseen by a church. I really respect that about the local church when they do things like that. I don't like a lot of the stuff that churches do, but I respect things like that.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I can appreciate that. They trying to help out the less fortunate. Good for that.
Well, you know what I liked about it was you didn't have to declare anything. You didn't have to declare yourself less fortunate because there were many times that I saw very nice cars getting things out of that pantry.
Yeah.
And I think there's this reality that a lot of people don't realize that just because you make a lot of money doesn't mean you have a lot of money.
Yeah. Because
And
like we talked about it not too long ago. Like think about the probie firemen. They get the fire department job. First thing they do is get buy a brand new truck, and then you're like, "Hey, what we gonna have for supper?" He's like, "I don't know what y'all are gonna have, but I'm gonna be having ramen noodles." You see that.
oh yeah. And that Chris Williamson was talking about this. There are lessons that just have to be learned. They cannot be taught.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
I know people who are earning six-figure salaries and don't have a thing.
Mm-hmm.
They got a shiny Yukon, and it's probably going to brick itself out any moment.
Mm-hmm.
And they got a $1,400 car note, and they got a 640 credit score, and I think they're on high on the hog. They got 17 affirm loans, and it's just like, oh my gosh, what are you looking for?
Somebody just pulled up. I'm about to have to go.
Yeah, I am too. I have to wake up early in the morning. So thank you everyone for joining us after our little hiatus. We are glad to be back. Glad to have you back with us.
Goodbye, everybody. Thank you for watching.
Peace out, y'all. Stop. Stop.